Alright everyone, welcome back. As you can see, I'm back in the farmhouse where I belong. I know some of you are here mostly for the house, and I can tell when I post a video about something else and I don't get nearly as many views on it, but that's kind of how it goes sometimes. I gotta keep things going with what I'm doing, but anyway, I am back here, and I'm going to be getting started on finishing up the walls and trying to get some electricity started this week. But again, it's going to be a short week. I didn't get an early start this week. While we were making our way back from Indianapolis last week, we got a call that my son Evan, who has helped me quite a bit on this house, some of you will know, he was involved in a trampoline accident. So when we got back, we made a trip to the hospital just to get Evan checked out, and he landed wrong, got his knee into his face, and got a pretty bad bruise there, and actually cracked some of the bones there. But doctors say it's going to heal fine, that no need for surgery or anything like that. But we're just waiting a couple of days, trying to get things figured out there. So anyway, now I'm back at the house so I can get started on some things, and which is what you've all been waiting for anyway. So I am going to stop talking and start working. Okay, so I'm working on getting this closet framed in here, and I've got my sill plate marked for where the opening is. We're going to do a 4-foot door opening here. So it's just going to be a simple closet with a rod across right here, and then you'll have probably bifold doors. You'll open, be able to reach everything you need to in there. But I need to mark my top plate, and what I've been doing is using a plumb bob or a chalk line, just letting it hang, or a level, which I've only got a 4-foot level. I really should be using an 8-foot level for that. But I've got this new laser, so I'm going to try and see how that works. I'm just going to set it, line it up with my bottom plate, let it shoot up there, and then climb up there and mark. So just finding new uses for it and seeing if I like it, how it works out. So let's see how this works. Okay, so there's my closet framed in. 4-foot opening and about 5 feet inside. So it basically is just going to be a closet rod across there, and maybe some shelving down below to put shoes and pants and who knows. I don't know what they might put in there, but just a basic closet, just a little bit of room to store some stuff. And so while I'm here, I do want to address something that came up in one of my short videos last week on the wall over here in the bathroom area. And I just did a single top plate. I did a single top plate here, and I didn't do a header. The reason for that is it doesn't need it. So the people that are commenting to me and telling me that I don't know what I'm doing because I'm doing single top plates, you need to understand why we have double top plates in the first place. So I'll show you in the old part of the house. You can see up there is a double top plate. So your studs are carrying the load, and then that load transfers to that double top plate, and your rafters don't always sit right on top of your studs. If they were sitting right on top of your studs, then the load from the rafter would transfer directly to the stud and down to the foundation, and you would have no problems. But because you don't always know how that's going to lay out, you do a double top plate, and that helps to carry the load from the roof to transfer it both directions to share the load on both studs, and then all that weight is transferred down. Okay, so that's why we do a double top plate. On interior walls, when you don't have a load, you don't need a double top plate. The only reason that modern building uses double top plates in interior walls is for the consistency of your stud length. So when you frame up your exterior walls, you order, if you're doing an 8-foot wall, you order your studs that are 92 and 5/8 inches. That gives you room for 1 bottom plate and 2 top plates to get to 96 inches. And you just carry that over on your interior walls, because in modern building, your interior wall is exactly the same height as your exterior wall in most cases. So you do a double top plate, and that makes it easier. You can just buy pre-cut studs, and they can be used for interior, they can be used for exterior, and that's all that matters. You don't need a double top plate on an interior wall. And especially in an old house like this, where this whole house was built that way. So, I mean, look here. Above the main entry door, this is an exterior load-bearing wall. The weight of the rafters is sitting up there, and then it transfers to that stud, and that stud is sitting right on top of this 2x4 that's laying flat. So that's not the way that it has its strength. Its strength would be this way. In a modern house, you would have, in most houses now, you would have an engineered header. In kind of traditional building, you would have like a 2x10 or 2x12 doubled up right there with a piece of plywood between it, and that would carry your load and transfer over. And then even here, you normally have underneath what would be the header, you would have a cripple stud, which the load transfer from that then transfers down, because right here it's just carrying in these nails that are nailed in through the side. That's all that's carrying all that up there. But it works. And yes, it's better to have structure underneath there. Yes, it's better to use double top plates and headers and all of that, and it all makes it stronger. But I'm here to tell you, this house has been standing here for over 100 years, and it's been built this way. And if it had not been for the water getting in through the roof and causing some rot, this house would not have any structural problems. So yes, again, there are reasons for strong building the way we do things now. but it is not completely necessary, especially if you are in an area where you don't have to abide by code, and just use common sense. Make sure you're doing things strong that aren't going to fall down. But this house is the perfect example of how to do everything wrong according to today's building standards and still have a building that can stand for 100 years. All right, well, I'm laying out the walls for the upstairs here. And originally the studs just had an angled cut on them, and then they were just nailed to the side of the rafters. And that worked okay because it had all of that hardboard is still up here. And so their finished wallboard, whatever they used, had something under it to nail to. But we're not doing that again. So I am actually going to lay out for a top plate to run across here and then a bottom plate. And so to get my walls fairly straight here, I am going to measure off of the top plate of this wall here, and I'm going to come out 63 inches. The reason for that is I actually am going to end up 64 inches, but when I put a top plate up here, I don't want to take the time to, I'll probably get people saying I'm doing this wrong, but I'm not going to take the time to cut 45s on all of these. So I'm going to just put my top plate up here like this, which means there's going to be a little bit of a void here, which means this furthest exterior point is going to be actually at 64 inches. So I've already got one marked here. So basically what I'm doing is I'm coming off of that top plate there, and I'm going 63 inches, and then I'll do the same thing down on this end. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll use my handy dandy new laser that I got, and this thing is pretty cool. It self levels. I can turn off the horizontal laser, I can turn on the vertical laser, and then I can just line it up. Actually, it's probably easier to just set it right close to this mark. Okay, so it's a little dark up here, but there's my V mark that I made. Put my laser on there, and it runs all the way across, obviously, and it's on my mark right here. So then what I can do is I can just go across here and I can mark my rafters. And I'll go all the way across there, and then I'll come back and I'll nail my top plate up there, and then on the bottom I will snap a chalk line there, and I put my bottom plate in, and then I will have a nice plumb wall, a nice straight wall all the way down. It's actually going to be better than it ever was. Straighter and truer than it probably ever was, I should say. It may have been when it was first built. right, well, that's all the boards I have, so that's going to be it for today. I'll stop and get some more boards, and we'll start dropping some studs in here tomorrow. I still have to do that corner, and so by tomorrow afternoon, this is going to begin to look like what it's supposed to look like. So this is getting pretty cool. If I can get this framed up, then we'll be ready to start running some wiring throughout this house, upstairs and downstairs. So that'd be cool. I do still have to tear off these ceiling boards. So a little bit more mess, but not too bad. Get that tore off and get cleaned up and be ready to put everything back together. Okay, so as you can see, I've got base plates marked across there, and then I did that. I just measured off of this outside corner back to there, all the way around. I went off the outside corner, just preference. And then I came back with my level and leveled up and just marked little marks there so I know where those go to have those plumb. So now I'll get busy cutting those. And it's really overcast today, and all I have up here is these little 2x2 windows, so it's pretty dark up here. I need to get some lights in here so I can see what I'm doing, but that's all right. I can see good enough for now. Hopefully I don't mess anything up. Okay, so I'm gonna start cutting these studs to go in here, and to find the length, obviously measure from bottom plate, and then in this case I want to measure to the long point of the cut on this angle. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start in the corners and work my way out, because around these dormers some of these are sagging a little bit, so I may try to put a board and a jack under here and jack this up. I don't want to tweak it too much, just because the house has settled, but if I can push these up a little bit if they're settled, I might try to split the difference between where they've settled to and where they actually need to be. And so I'm just going to kind of play that by ear, see how that goes. But I need to figure out what this angle is, and to do that, the easiest way to do that is to take a board, or in this case a level, and a speed square, and then you lock your speed square in right on the edge of that angle, and then you pivot it until it matches the angle of that board, and then you read right down the side of this straight edge, and it ends up about 33 or 34 degrees. So I'm gonna cut them at 33. That's what I measured over on the other side, so that'll be close enough to get it 1 degree. I probably can't cut that accurate anyway, so we'll just go with that. So I'm gonna get started back in that corner and work my way out and go all the way around. Okay, there's one corner done, with the exception of the corner studs. I'm going to come back later and do those, but for now I've got that. It's actually pretty straight. It's kind of hard to tell, and it's dark, and but over here I was able to jack this up pretty good. This dormer here was the one from the outside that was leaning the most, so you can actually even see right here that the top of this wall is higher than this one. So I know for sure that this rafter right here kind of has a little sag in it. So when I get over here to do the same thing, I'm going to start in this corner and work my way out and jack this up. And I think this is actually going to work out pretty good because the supporting wall underneath is right here. It's transferring all the load, and then there's joist obviously running across, so there's not a whole lot of span there to put pressure down, so it should carry pretty well to be able to jack this side back up and get this thing straightened out just a little bit. Alright, hopefully I don't make you dizzy, but all the way around I got the main walls done. Still have, like I said, the corners to do there, and then I'll have to come back and build these walls on the sides of the dormers. Still have to put that piece of subfloor down in there, but got all the way back around except for this area right here, and I'm leaving that open because the air handler is probably going to go back in there somewhere, and there's a pretty good chance I'll leave an access door right in there somewhere. If you remember from way back, there were some access doors in the sides of the dormers here, and now with the subfloor going all the way back in there, there is some storage space, and so that could be a way to get back to the air handler. You could just crawl around back behind there, but depending on how big that thing is and how that's going to work in there, it might just be easier to have another access right there. So we'll see. And the other thing is that speaking of the storage back in there, the plan is to do spray foam insulation. So all of that area back behind there is going to be within conditioned space. So you won't have to worry about storing things in there that are going to get hot or anything like that, hot or cold in the winter time. So it's really just going to work out well. I'm kind of surprised how much room there is back in there. You could really store a whole bunch of boxes and stuff back in there, or whatever. Those could be linens and all kinds of things. There's all kinds of possibilities. So but my project is just to get the house built and then leave that up to them. So we'll see what they come up with when they get in here and start decorating and doing all those things. All right, so that's going to do it for this week. I know it wasn't a whole lot that I got done this week, but with everything that was going on with our family and everything at the beginning of the week, I only had a couple of days. So but next week I don't think we have any interruptions. So my plan is, since it's starting to cool off, I want to get up here and finish this dormer, and then both the other two dormers still need the all the stripping and everything done on it, and then I need to get all the caulking and everything done on the house so it can be ready for paint. So that'll be coming up hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Get this thing, the outside of it, finalized and weatherproof. I need to begin working on the electrical inside, and then I need to start planning for insulation and drywall and get those guys lined up. I don't think I'm going to do all that on my own. I think I'm going to have somebody else do that. So but I will try to get down here and film while they're doing that, so we can see the process on that. But anyway, so that's it for this week, and we'll see you next time.